All right. Well, we're rolling. Andrew, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you tell me about your business, what you do?
Yeah. So I offer flight instruction out of Livingston, and I also do some short tours around Paradise Valley, Crazy Mountain area up there. We can go anywhere within 25 miles of Livingston Airport. So usually what the tour will be is down to like Emigrant, over Chico, or up around the Crazy Mountain area. But primarily is flight instruction. We have a Piper Cherokee, a little low wing, 180 horse airplane right now, and also have a Cessna 150. I just hired a part-time CFI to fly the Cessna 150. It's a little bit lower power than the Cherokee is, so he's a little more compact dude. We can fly some of the smaller people around in that, and do instruction with that as well, and keep that flying over the summer. So
What is that term? What is the term you just said you hired?
a CFI, sorry, a certified flight instructor.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm looking at them on your site right now. Maybe I'll pull some of them up on the video. I think it said on the website, I'm paraphrasing, but it did say, yeah, if you can fly here, you can fly anywhere.
Yes. That's one of the things I really like about Livingston is it's definitely more challenging to learn in the winds that we have there, but I think it makes better pilots overall. It gives you a better foundational level of knowing how to control the aircraft, make it do what you want, paying attention to the winds, paying attention to the high density altitude. So hot days in the summer, planes don't like to fly as much during those hot days. And yeah, I think you get a lot of value out of learning in those harder modes of flight. And that way you don't have to learn that further down the road. You just have that under your belt, and it's just a normal thing for our students.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like learning to drive in the wintertime in Montana.
Exactly.
If you came here in the middle of summer, you might be very misled as to what the reality of driving here is.
Yes.
How much does the weather and the wind play a factor in being able to fly at all there?
Not as much as you'd think. There are a lot of ways that we can manipulate the training. So we can go either, if winds are good over in Big Timber, we can go fly over in Big Timber and do landing stuff there. We can go do, we'll call it upper air work, or we can do, other stuff. We'll go do across country if the winds are bad, if the weather's bad. Sometimes the weather is just so bad that everything's grounded. But usually there's something we can do for training. So kind of figured that out.
How big is the airfield in Big Timber?
It's a little bit smaller than Livingston. Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you how long the runway is, but it's a little bit shorter than Livingston. Livingston has one paved runway and 3, I believe, grass strips.
Mm-hmm.
And Livingston has Big Timber has one paved runway and one grass strip. And same guys run the fixed base operator, run the gas and all the stuff for both Livingston and Big Timber. There's a couple more hangars in Livingston, but yeah, very similar setups.
Do you know much about that grass strip that's down in Paradise Valley there?
The Flying Y.
Yeah. I assume that's what it is.
Yeah. I think there's a few private ones down there, but I assume that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the glider strip.
Yeah.
That they use primarily. Yeah. Don't operate out of there. I don't think I've ever landed there, but I know the guy that runs the glider operation down there, and he does some does some check rides for our students, and really nice guy. Yeah.
I know I was telling Pat about that, who I had on recently. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
I drove some clients there. They essentially had a hangar right next to their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a stop sign, and it just says caution.
Active runway.
Yeah. So you just kind of look around. I'm like, all right.
Like, okay, I guess we're good to go.
You don't really notice it there when you drive down the valley, but it's kind of right over right over the hill there.
Yeah, when you're flying over there, you can kind of look down and be like, "Oh yeah, there's a runway down there." But if you're driving, I think you can see, if you know what you're looking for, you can see the hangar that says Flying Y, but that's about it. Yeah, it's kind of up on that ridge there, the actual landing strip.
So your business primarily, are you primarily doing flight school, or are you primarily doing sightseeing tours?
Primarily flight school. The tours are just something that's kind of nice to do for just a change of pace. But yeah, it's just when we do tours, it's just a 1 hour flight out and back kind of thing. Just nice to break up the kind of monotony on my part of teaching people the same thing every day. Nice to just go out and meet new people and just chat with them and show them the sights and everything. So
how many can go on a tour at once?
3.
Okay.
So it'll be myself and then 3 passengers. Is the max. Yeah.
And you said it's a 25-mile radius roughly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah.
That, I mean, I don't know. That sounds awesome. I've never, like, every time I fly into Bozeman, I try to be really intentional which side of the plane I'm sitting on.
So you can actually look and see.
Yeah, I love, when we start to get over West Yellowstone, over Big Sky, and depending on the flight you're on, there's usually a tracker. You can see where you are.
Yep.
I think a lot of the times when I come, I'm flying in from Denver, so I think we usually go west and then come in that way.
Yep.
But I'm always kind of back and forth which side of the plane do I want to be, because I'm obsessed with aerial view anything. So
yeah,
I might take you up on one of your flight tours.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a really cool perspective, because usually when you're flying in the airliner, coming down into Bozeman on the approach is a little bit different, but usually you're up at 30,000 feet, so you can't really see anything other than the clouds. But here will be maybe 4,000 or 5,000 feet above the ground, so you're kind of right at the tops of the mountains. We're flying around, and you can see the Yellowstone below you flowing, and the crops and everything, and it's a really unique perspective. So
if you go south, do you go over the park at all, or no?
No, that's out of our radius right now. That is in the plans for probably over the winter. I'd like to write there, it's called your Part 135, is like your charter operations, and that allows you to do tours and charters and stuff. And I'd like to eventually be able to do some tours down further around to the park, do some more custom stuff, maybe fly some hunters into the backcountry, that kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
And what does the flight school look like? What's the scope of what you're training for?
So right now, we have private pilot license, commercial license. I don't have my my double I, my instrument instructor yet, but TJ that I just hired, he does. So as people progress, generally you'll go get your private pilot license, your instrument license, your commercial license, and then any add-ons like multi-engine stuff like that. So he can do the instrument stuff, whereas I can do private pilot license and commercial license. We can also do sport pilot license. That's a whole niche rabbit hole we can go down if you want to, or people can call me and ask about that. It's just a more restricted private pilot license, basically, and it allows people to just they can fly themselves, and they can fly one other person in more just the local area. Little bit less requirements, a little bit more restrictive than private pilot license. So that's an option for some people.
You said that's sport, that's called?
Yeah, your light sport pilot.
So that's is that the lowest entry point for license?
Yes, you can also do a recreational pilot, which I've never actually done for anybody. I'm working with the guy getting his light sport right now, and it's pretty easy. Remove some of the requirements for hours for your private pilot license, and but everything else is pretty much the same. So,
and what is the instrument?
So your instrument is, as you're doing your private pilot license, you're mostly focused outside. You're learning to fly the plane by hand, get a feel for how the plane reacts, get an idea of your visual references outside for how to get the plane to do what you want it to do. And you're just like casually glancing inside every now and then to make sure the instruments are essentially verifying what you're seeing outside. Whereas with your instrument license, that's an add-on to your private pilot or your commercial, whatever. You are flying the plane pretty much primarily by the instruments. You end up, we call them foggles. They're like work goggles that have been acid etched. So all you can see are your instrument panel, and you're flying around with that. You're flying just off the instruments. We work on your cross check and everything, making sure all the instruments line up, and you're flying the plane correctly, and you're holding it steady. And
so you're kind of flying blind in a sense, or you're just like,
yeah, in a sense, it's a weird feeling to get used to just like trust the instruments and not trust what your body is telling you necessarily. So there's people can get into, it's called spatial disorientation really easily if they start just trusting what their body tells them and they're not relying on their gauges, their instruments. You can think you're in a bank and you're actually flying straight and level, and so you turn farther and everything gets messed up. So that's a big part of the training is like, hey, actually rely on your instruments. Just trust what they tell you, and you'll be just fine.
yeah, that is weird to think of, but I could see that you just get kind of disoriented to
Oh yeah,
where you are.
yep.
What I mean, is it different if you're in a large commercial plane or in a smaller plane where it is, or is this pretty relevant across the board?
Pretty relevant across the board, yeah. Especially in a bigger like an airliner. They're going to be flying it pretty much primarily by the instruments.
Yeah.
It's going to be mostly on autopilot at that point, but you're going to be flying pretty much by the instruments, especially because you're so high up at that point. Like you don't really have any visual references to rely on.
Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. We provide private transportation services and Yellowstone National Park tours. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, consider following the show. Whether you're using our services directly or following and sharing the show, those simple actions help support this business as well as the businesses and guests that have been a part of the show. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses, local jobs, and this beautiful state. Now back to the show. I think of like my Toyota truck is a 2008, and it's like you can feel everything in that truck.
Oh yeah.
But you think of like some of our newer Yukons, they're so smooth you kind of can't feel anything.
Yep.
And I just wondered if that plays much into like a brand new plane or an older plane.
Not necessarily like newer or older age wise, but size wise, yeah, definitely. Like our little Cherokee, you're gonna feel every little bump. Versus a 737, it's gonna kind of smooth everything out for you. You're just not gonna. It's just so much mass to move around, like turbulence and stuff really gets damped down.
So you're getting kind of like thrown around a little bit just because of the size.
Yeah, you can. And we teach how to absorb the turbulence and air and stuff. It is just small, timely corrections on your controls. But yeah, you definitely you feel the bumps a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on some small, like I guess like two rows, the smallest like commercial one.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Which maybe you feel it a little bit, but
yeah.
I remember flying from like Laramie, Wyoming to Denver or back.
Little puddle jumper.
Yeah, and I don't know, I was probably like, I guess it was 21, but I like did what every 21-year-old would do is like drink a bunch of beers at the airport.
Yeah.
And then I get on the plane and there's no bathroom.
Oh,
it was like
no.
the longest 15 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
So that's my memory of that tiny plane.
Yeah. Just you're so focused on not having a bathroom. You else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for someone who's never flown a plane, which is a lot of people, is there anything you could describe it to that is relatable to someone who hasn't flown a plane other than driving? I've driven, operated a lot of large equipment and that kind of stuff, but I imagine it's got to be a pretty unique, euphoric feeling.
I mean, physically, I've noticed that a lot of the guys that they've operated equipment or they've ridden dirt bikes, they just have more of a mechanical mind. It translates pretty well. But the actual feeling of like being up there and flying over everything and like you're actually in control is, you just can't describe it.
Yeah.
So for our discovery flights, um, I offer they're $99 for a half an hour, and you get to, I'll take off, give you controls, you fly around, and I'll land. Um, and if people want to buy a block of 10 hours for the aircraft rental, I'll throw in the discovery flight for free. And I always say I kind of feel kind of like a drug dealer. Like, hey, want to taste?
Nice.
Because everybody goes up and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is cool. This is so cool. I want to fly." So it's really just hard to put that into words.
Yeah, I'd imagine at some point though it does get to a point where it feels pretty normal.
Yeah,
just something you're doing.
Yeah, so for sure, getting the feeling for the plane is something that can be hard for some people at first, but eventually, yeah, you just kind of become one with the plane. You feel it's a lot of proprioceptive feedback. You feel what the plane is doing, and you either you make corrections as needed or just let it. It's kind of like riding a horse. You let it have its head for a good amount, but then you just have to make small corrections here and there. Yeah, it's just you just really have to experience it. It's a lot of fun.
So funny. I do martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu here.
Yeah.
And like half the instructors always like, it's like when you're riding a horse, I'm like, I think that reference only works in Montana and a few places where anyone knows what you're talking about. But I do know what you're talking about because me and my fiance have a couple horses. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. There's a lot of references I use. There's a lot of fishing, shooting, horse references that you get out here that I don't think you could use a lot of places.
Yeah. And wait, so when did your flight journey start?
Oh man. So it's all I've ever wanted to do as a kid. I knew my dad was in the Air Force, wasn't a pilot. But we went to an air show, and I distinctly remember I was maybe 4 years old. It's probably one of my first memories, but I remember like riding around on his shoulders and just being in awe of the planes flying over us. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Didn't really have any interest in doing civilian flying at that point. Wanted to be military. I wanted to do the fun swoopy stuff, do all the tactical stuff, and joined Air Force ROTC out of high school. Couldn't wait to get out. So I grew up in Helena.
Okay.
Couldn't wait to get out of Helena, out of high school, and went to college. My mom's alma mater at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. Did that for a couple of years. Studied physics. I wanted to do mechanical engineering, but I didn't have a mechanical engineering degree. And so being 18, I was like, sure, physics is about the same thing as mechanical engineering, right? No. Ended up failing most of my classes, doing Air Force ROTC. Wasn't doing well in that either. Got a minor in possession of alcohol when I was like 4 months away from my 21st birthday.
Damn it.
Yeah. And it was, oh man, it was so frustrating. It was like 4 of us just sitting in a friend's apartment. It was after finals, and we were just sitting there hanging out, and the cops just knocked on the door and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we're like, "Nothing." And so we all got MIPs. Got booted out of Air Force ROTC for that. And it was really heartbreaking at the time, but looking back, it was probably one of the best things that happened to me, because I was really in kind of that region beta, whatever you call it, where it's like things are bad, but it's not really bad enough to get you to move on.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing well in ROTC. I was failing all my classes and everything, and so that
you're like just comfortable enough to.
Yeah, and stubborn enough. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna fail out of this. I'm not gonna let it get me. And so that kind of gave me a kick in the ass. And I was gonna reassessing my life over the summer, and had a buddy who was at MSU, and I was like, hey, just we have a spare room. Come do mechanical engineering at MSU. And I was like, yeah, sure, fine. It's far enough away from home that I wasn't you know, under my parents' thumb, but it was close enough to home that I could get back if I needed to. So that was good. So I came back to MSU, started doing mechanical engineering. Kind of linked up with another buddy that I hadn't talked to since like middle school, and he was doing the guaranteed flight program for the Marine Corps. And so I got into that, and long story short, did my officer candidate school, which it was 10 weeks, I think, and ended up blowing out my shoulder at OCS, and went and told the flight surgeon after that, and they were like, "You're medically disqualified from flying for the Marines." So that tells you all you need to know about a guarantee for the military. So continued with my Marine Corps career, because I'd gone through OCS. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, I want to be a Marine. I'll fly in the meantime, in my free time. I ended up getting communications officer as a military specialty, and quickly realized I didn't have any free time. And so did my 4 years with the Marines. And that was coming to a close, and my wife Allie and I were kind of figuring out what we wanted to do for, after that. And I talked to Montana Army National Guard there in Helena, and they offered me a flight slot. And so we came back, moved back to Kalispell. My mom was up there. We have some family in the area, and so we moved up there. And I went down about 6 months later, went down to Fort Rucker in Enterprise, Alabama, for Army initial entry rotary wing training to learn how to fly helicopters. And came back and was trying to kind of figure out our life after that. Like, what do I want to do for a civilian career? And Allie she kind of wanted to move back to Bozeman. So we met at MSU in Bozeman, and she kind of wanted to move back to Bozeman. And I was like, well, I don't really want to be in Bozeman, but I could do Livingston. And so we moved down here to Livingston. I subsequently pieced together my my certified flight instructor certificate. I did some training with a couple guys out in Laurel, drove out there like every other day, and got my commercial and my instrument from them. And then there was a CFI up in Townsend that I did my CFI with. And after that, I was kind of shopping around and trying to figure out, who can I work for? And I was talking to some of the bigger flight schools around, and they offered me like $24 an hour when they were charging people like $85 an hour. I was like, yeah, that just doesn't seem like kind of fair. And I can't really keep the lights on and keep food on the table. I can't support a family at that pay. I have the ability to take out a home equity loan, buy a plane, start my own flight school, and make my own run at it. And so that's what I did, and here we are.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I think it's tough. I know the capital involved in buying vehicles for my business, so I can only imagine with planes.
Yeah, and it's the initial capital, and then what most people don't think about is the insurance.
Yeah, that's one of my
yeah
biggest expenses.
Yeah.
And I'm not leaving the ground, so
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how long have you been doing this for?
So I got my actual flight instructor certificate pretty much 2 years ago right now. I did a little bit of instructing out of Laurel for one of the guys out there, and then bought the first plane in July of 24. Founded everything in July, and kind of started running everything up, and really started going December, January 24, 25. So just under 2 years now.
How's the seasonality with flying, as far as snow, ice, any of that?
So this year it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But generally, yeah, there's going to be a downtick during the winter. but it's actually not as bad as people would think. Like you're gonna get weathered out more than you will during the summer. But especially if you're doing your commercial stuff, if you're not just learning how to land the plane, it's not that bad. So yeah, if you're doing more like maneuver work, usually you can take off and have a good time with it.
There's a lot less snow in Livingston than over here generally.
Because it all blows off.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's like every time I go through the pass, I'm like, oh, it's brown over here.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much misses that comes over the bridges through here.
Yeah, it all dumps on the bridges and then kind of just blows out of Livingston.
You know all that wind we just had a couple days ago?
Yeah.
So my fiance just asked me, so I'm gonna ask you this now. She goes, "Is this what it's like living in Livingston?"
Yes.
And I lived there for I think 8 weeks when I first moved out here, and I'm friends with the folks that I stayed with. I wasn't then, but I don't know. After like 6 weeks, I was like, I don't know. This does get kind of.
It gets old. It grates on you. There's plenty of days where we're like, oh man, this is just getting old. But I love the town.
Yeah.
It's so worth it to me. I think it's just a great area to be in.
Yeah, it's got great character for Montana town.
Yeah.
It's kind of in that sweet spot.
Yep. It feels like the old school Montana, and keeps a lot of people away. So if you're living there, you really want to be there.
Yeah, that makes sense because you gotta tolerate the wind.
Yeah.
How about the airport over there? What can you say about the Livingston Airport? Because we've picked clients up there on occasion, and I think it's cool because it's not, we pick up the FBOs here.
Yeah,
it's a whole procedure at the gate, the tail number there. You just kind of walk in the door if anyone's there at the office. And it's like, yep, drive out there.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Like if you don't know it's there, like you're probably never gonna notice it. It's not just something. It's kind of up on that bluff, kind of tucked away. But the guys at Yellowstone Air Service, Gabriel and Ryan, they're awesome. They're usually there they're always there to usher in like the jets and stuff. Yep. But I'm pretty sure Ryan spends more time there than he does at home. Yeah. He's almost always there whenever I am, and super, super accommodating, super happy to help. It's really cool that you can just kind of drive on.
Yeah.
And there's the jet, like before I started working out of there, the amount of jets that fly in and out of there, like you'd never know.
I think that it's Brian that I'd met a few times.
Yeah.
I think he told me that. Like on a daily basis, it's more than you would think.
Yeah. He's like, he's told me several times, he's like, I never thought I'd have a billionaire's number in my phone book, let alone like 10.
Yeah.
So no, it's super cool. The airport itself is really well run. There's an airport board seat that's open right now that I've applied for. I'm really hoping I get, because I really believe in maintaining it, like stewarding that area for future generations too. So like I have a 2-year-old son, and hoping to be able to keep that well maintained and running, and have him be able to fly out of there one day.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you'd be a great fit for it just because you're working out of there.
Yeah, I think so.
How do those logistics work with your plane and anything there now? Do you have hangar space or anything there now?
Yeah, so the way it works is it's kind of weird. There's a few like public hangars that the city county board runs, and then Yellowstone Air Service, the FBO, the fixed base operator, I think they just own the one hangar. That's where I keep my planes. And then there's a few private hangars that are out there. And eventually that's kind of another winter project, hoping either this year or maybe next year, break ground on a hangar out there and be able to house my planes, and then also house some of the other either transient planes that are flying through, or maybe some of the planes that are out on the Bozeman ramp.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So would that be something that you would own then? Would they sell you that real estate, or do you just rent the real estate? How does that work?
Yeah. So you lease the ground, and then there's a whole process. There's like a 20-year lease with a 20-year option and a whole bunch of stuff. But basically, I would lease the ground. I'd own the building. Um, yeah, and then I'd pay myself back with the planes that are staying there and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
I think there's one for sale next door here if you're looking for one.
Love it. Let's do it.
They look beautiful. I think they've just built so many, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's set for sale or for lease, but the Mountain Mule shop used to be off of Airport Road,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we would drive by it all the time, and we just saw the for sale sign. And,
Just all the hangers out there.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's do you have much experience at the Bozeman Airport or doing stuff around here?
Yeah, fair amount. So the Livingston airspace is not controlled. So there's no tower or anything. So we'll fly out to Bozeman fairly often and get the students experience talking on the radio and everything. So we fly in and out of there a fair amount, and they're great. I love the ATC guys at Bozeman. They're always super professional, super nice.
So with that, a 25-mile radius, do you come over Bozeman at all? If you're
Generally not. Bozeman Airport, I think it's like 32 miles or something. It's just, I think Bridger, like the actual ski hill, is probably right about 25 miles. So if someone wanted to, we could, probably do that as a tour. But generally there's, not much to see over Bozeman. If they want to see Bozeman, there's plenty of people, I think, out here that do tours out here. So
is there anything what's the craziest thing you've seen when you're in an airplane, like looking down?
Oh man. Some of the elk herds.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty crazy. Yeah. You can find 400 or 500 head of elk, and they're almost always on private property.
Yeah.
So they're smart. But, yeah, that's probably the coolest thing we see.
I've heard people say that some ranches with helicopters will like push elk herds onto onto public land or onto their ranch or anything.
Sure.
I'd imagine it wouldn't take too much from a chopper to get an elk herd moving pretty fast.
No. I don't know anybody that does that, but wouldn't surprise me in the least to have some people do that.
And yeah, let's talk about choppers, because you talked about them. Do you have future plans for them? And
yeah. So I fly Blackhawks for the Montana Army National Guard right now. Super fun. I love doing that. Super rewarding. And the best comparison that I can make between airplanes and helicopters is like airplane is like driving a car, but a helicopter is like riding a motorcycle. Like it just becomes part of your body. It's just an extension of you once you get good at it. It's fun. Like you can land anywhere. You can do all this different stuff. People have a misconception that helicopters are more dangerous than planes, because if you lose an engine, you just fall like a rock, and that's not the case. You can auto rotate and land. But yeah, eventually I would like to buy a helicopter and do some training in that. I think we have a really, really good area to do, especially mountain training for helicopters. Just like with the airplanes, getting used to the wind and stuff and controlling. I'd love to talk to Park Service about doing some, making some pinnacle landing zones out in the valley. Likelihood of that is probably low, but I think it's good to have goals, right?
What would the pinnacle landing spot be for?
Oh, just learning how to do like confined space landings and power management and all that stuff. Pinnacle landings are going to be a little bit harder than just like a normal landing, because you really have to watch how much power you're pulling in on a helicopter. But yeah, eventually I'd love to, keep the business growing like that. That's in the cards, hopefully one day. Probably several years down the road eventually, but something popped up. I'd love to be able to take advantage of that. And right now we're looking at thinking of growing, buying a multi-engine plane. little twin engine. There's one out there that I have my eye on. Just need to get the banks involved and
Yeah.
figure that out. So hopefully that'll be in another month or so here.
Nice.
So
essentially you can't, like, you can only take anyone now with your planes if there's somewhere to land, but a chopper you can go like fairly remote depending on.
Yeah, you could do right now with my planes, they don't really have the ability to do like off airport landing, like for hunting or anything like that. So you'd need a fairly well maintained strip to land on. But a helicopter, yeah, as long as it's not like wilderness area or anything, you could find a field and set it down pretty easily.
I thought I'd heard maybe a year or two ago about someone landed a chopper somewhere in here that they were not supposed to. I don't know if it was like in the park or something. Did you hear about this at all?
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard several stories. So
yeah. I think I don't know if I heard it on a podcast or where I heard it, but it sounded like, I don't know.
Yeah, people don't pay attention to where they are, and they'll land in like the wilderness or in Yellowstone National Park or whatever. And
what's the repercussions of doing something like that?
Oh, I honestly couldn't tell you. I have not had to find out yet.
That's
and
good.
We're gonna keep it that way.
Yeah. So going back to the flight school, if somebody wants to get a private license, how many hours do they need to get with you, and how does that whole thing look?
Yeah, so generally they'll start out with a discovery flight just to kind of make sure the instructors jive. And then the next step will be usually get your medical, because the FAA can be kind of strict with that stuff. And I always suggest people get their medical first, because if something pops up, that can be a 6 to 8 month process. And I would rather have you like deal with that and then start your training, rather than start your training, have to deal with your medical stuff, and then pick your training back up. It's just, I don't want people to waste their time and money. And then from there, it's minimum of 40 hours is the FAA. Most of my students are within like the national average of 60 to 70 hours. I think generally people they'll solo about 15 to 20 hours, and that's when they take the plane out by themselves. They have to do 3 landings, takeoffs and landings, and then they're officially endorsed to go fly the plane by themselves. They have to do some solo hours to get their private pilot license. And that's a little bit some of the flight schools they'll shoot for like 5 to 10 hours. And I think over in Livingston, we usually do 15 to 20 hours, just on average. Depends, it's all personal skill levels. But that's just because it's windier, and people just need to get a little bit more of the feel for the plane. But then once they solo, usually just off to the races for them. So usually about 60 hours for the check ride. And then once you are a private pilot, if you've gone through the flight school, you can rent the plane. I just had a student that got his private pilot a couple months ago. He just took his girlfriend down to Jackson in the Cherokee. So love it. Happy to have you guys do that. And then from there, it's really just dependent on what your goals are. Like if you just want to have your private pilot for fun, bombing around the mountains, cool, that's it. Generally, I suggest people at least get their instrument add-on, just out of a safety matter. Like if you fly into clouds, that way you know what you're doing with the plane. If you want to fly for the airlines or fly firefighting or bush in Alaska, anything like that, we'll continue on and get your commercial pilot license and go from there.
That's a pretty sick move. If you're like, get your college girlfriend, like, hey, want to go on a flight for the weekend? Is that how you found your wife or no?
No, that wasn't me, unfortunately.
So when they take the plane to Jackson, how does that work? Are they coming back the same day or like?
Yeah. Yep. So it's just counts towards the time on the plane. And if they have, you can buy a block hour or a block of 10 hours, fly it down to Jackson. There's a gas card in the plane. That's a block of 10 hours wet. That includes the fuel. So you can fly it, gas it up down there with the gas card, fly it back. If you don't have a block of hours, it's a little bit more expensive, another $10 an hour. But still wet includes fuel. Fly it down wherever, come back, fuel it up.
Is there ever a type of business that, exists where you, like if somebody wanted to charter a plane to Jackson, could they ever do that with you?
Not yet. That's one of the reasons that I want to get my Part 135. That's your charter certificate. That way I could do that, especially with a multi-engine.
Yep.
That would be, if you have a small family or just a couple that want to jump down to Jackson or Denver, do some short hop charter stuff. I'd love to be able to do that. I know Ridgeline, they fly their Pilatus, their PC-12 down to Jackson several times a week. But if somebody wanted a more, economical option, I'd love to be able to fill that niche.
It's not insanely expensive, is it?
Oh gosh, for the Pilatus?
Yeah, maybe it is.
I don't know. I haven't looked recently. I'm not gonna say bad numbers.
Yeah. How are like fuel prices right now affecting everything?
They're higher.
Yeah.
Yep, they've gone up. They've gone up only $1 a gallon for this round. But Yellowstone Air Service, they're the ones that do all the fuel for us. They buy in bulk. They buy like 40,000 gallons at a time or something like that. So they, when everything with Iran started kicking off, they kind of saw the writing on the wall and they put in a big order.
Nice.
And so that kept our prices down for a while, but they've gone up, and I would kind of expect them to go up again when they put in the next order. So it's affecting us, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. 2 of our Yukons are diesel.
No.
Yeah. But they do get almost 40 miles a gallon. So
that's good.
It almost levels out.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
What's for fuel for aircraft? What's the cost of that stuff per gallon?
Here in Livingston, it's I think $7 a gallon right now for 100 low lead, which is what we run.
So it's like regular gas in California, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Is there anything like if you have this different perspective, I think, from being a pilot, do you think that does flying this much and seeing the world from up there change any of your outlook on life? I know it's a very large esoteric question.
Getting existential. Not really, no. But I think one thing is I chased this for so long that I really appreciate where I am right now, and I carry this kind of mentality, philosophy that if I'm not looking out the plane and smiling and having fun with it at least once or twice a day, I need to go reassess something because I'm not doing something right at this point.
And enjoying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not having fun with it, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
So
I've been there with business too, because you can get lost in the weeds of trying to run a business and live a life, and you're like, why did I even start this if I'm not
going to enjoy it?
Yeah.
And it's easy to do. You start a business out of something you love, and it's really easy, I think, to lose that passion and joy for it. And so that's something I'm actively conscious about to not let happen.
Yeah, that's smart, because I've been there too. It's the reason I started the business of transportation is because I like talking to people. That's why I do a podcast, talking to people.
Yeah.
That was sort of the intro for me, but you can get very lost in the weeds with business. And
doing the books and contracts and all this and that and the other, you forget why you started in the first place, for sure.
If anyone listening to this, is there anything you need as a business owner or to your family, any people or help with anything that?
Not necessarily right now. But I am if we get the multi-engine, that's going to be the main a pretty big transition. I will be starting to take that on full time. That'll be my main position, and so I'll need a more full time CFI to fly the Cherokee more.
Oh, right
So
on.
that'll
So
be
down the road.
something we'll start to look at here probably pretty soon though.
And if any investors want to buy planes,
Hey, if any investors want to buy a plane and lease it back to me, I'm all about that. I'd like to do one thing for next year is so the multi engine's kind of this year. Next year, I'd love to get a backcountry plane. If anybody listening knows what a Tailwheel 172 XP is, that's kind of what I'm looking at for fish wildlife surveys, potentially making that more of the tour plane, flying hunters into the backcountry stuff. So if anybody has a plane like that, or wants to lease it back and make some money off of it, that's what I'm here for. Or a helicopter, little Enstrom or a Schweitzer or something. That's kind of what I've been drooling over for a while.
So, and if you get different permitting down the road, then you can do a bigger radius of tours.
Yeah. Yep. So right now it falls under the federal aviation regulations. It's super niche, but part 91 147. So that means I have the FAA says, yes, you can fly tours, you can fly other people for money within 25 miles. If you get a Part 135 license, then you can fly them pretty much any distance that the plane can handle. Yeah.
And then in that case, could you also then charter people to say Jackson or wherever? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then is there just a kind of a weight restriction to how many people are?
Yeah. Yep. Weight, fuel, distance, seating, however many seats you actually have in the plane at that point.
I've got a client that he's got a place sort of out like past the park. I don't know what it would be, but I know it borders the park. But sometimes they take a helicopter from here. Some of his friends, and it's very like they've got to be really careful with how much luggage they bring.
Yeah,
it's always a weight thing.
Yeah. What kind of helicopter?
I don't know. I think they there's a helicopter. It's something. Is it Central Copters over here?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if they just charter it from them, or I don't know if it's his. It could be like, I know this guy's very wealthy, so it may be his.
Okay.
But there's a route to drive, which it's like is it? Yeah, it's like 4.5 hours. But a lot of times he'll take the helicopter.
Sometimes like half an hour.
Yeah, and sometimes his friends will take the helicopter.
Nice.
We like it when they don't because they pay us to drive them.
There you go.
But sometimes we'll just pick them up or drop them off at the Central Copters. But
okay.
I know it's always a weight thing with their luggage. Half the time we're like stuck with half their luggage. You're like, we got to leave this with you.
Yeah.
All right. But
we just drive the luggage out.
Yeah. There's all kinds of weird stuff like that.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool, man. Anything else anyone should know about you, your business, your life?
Yeah, coming up on the 2-year anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it. That's for a business.
July, right?
Yeah, July 25th, I think is the day. It's a Saturday. We're gonna do a birthday party out at the Livingston airport. I think a lot of the students will be out there. There's another flight club out there, so I'm hoping to have a lot of those guys out there. But anybody from the public that's interested, just likes planes, interested in taking some lessons, whatever, they're more than welcome to come. Love to have them. Ryan, he got a giant smoker like the size of this table.
Nice.
Dragged it up. Things like 3,000 pounds. Drove it up from Texas a couple months ago, and so he's looking for any excuse to smoke stuff.
Sweet.
So he's gonna be doing some meats and sides, and should be a good time. So anybody that's interested, love to have you come up and do that. I think that's pretty much it.
I feel like next time my mother comes out here, she's gonna book a flight with you because that's like such up her alley.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love it.
I might too though because it sounds cool. I would love to see this area from up above.
Yeah, see the routes you drive, be able to kind of pick some shortcuts out.
Have you ever done any skydiving?
No, that is something I would love to do. I feel like my wife might have something to say about that, but I'll stick to staying in the planes for the time being. Yeah,
I'm curious what my fiance will say about this, but I'm gonna pitch her about taking a flight. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. Take you both up.
Website, where do people find you?
www.flyvalley.com.
Okay.
That has all our information about instruction, tours, photography stuff. We can do some of that. I don't do any photography, but I have some friends and neighbors that are really, really excellent photographers that they can stick the camera out the window and get some good stuff. So if you need real estate photography or you just want some landscape photography done, we can do that. Yeah, so just flyvalley.com, VALI, and that is the Norse god of flight.
What's the Valley?
Valley.
I was going to ask you if that name came from something.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll link everything. I'll link your social, and I hope some people find you and hit you up.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yeah. Did I miss anything?
No, but I was laughing, or he was like the first.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.